Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Good evening on this later evening special stream here as we do Reaction Watch as the first reactions for Captain America, Brave New World, aka Captain America 4, are now scheduled to come out. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. Giddy, giddy, nipple twisty. Good to have you guys here. Bonus points for anybody who knows that reference, by the way. Anyway, good to have you guys here. So here's what we're going to do. Very simple stream tonight. Very simple stream. We're going to go through the reactions that have been pouring in over the movie. Then I'm going to take some time and take some of your thoughts and observations and questions. By the way, if you have a thought, observation, or question, and you're watching live, and you got to be watching live, go ahead and fire it on into the super chat, and we'll get around to answering that a little bit later. Just by the way, everybody, if you're going to send in a super chat, remember tonight we're talking about Captain America, Brave New World. I will not address questions that are not about Captain America, Brave New World. If you want to ask about the Super Bowl, or if you want to ask about I don't know, Harry Potter. Sorry, I'm just not going to answer those. Keep your questions, comments, observations to simply talking about Captain America 4. Before we get rolling into it, though, I will say I talked to two people earlier this week who saw the film, not at public screenings, obviously. And both of them, while having slightly different takes, the general gist of both of the individuals I talked to was that it's good. That was it. Like it's definitely not bad. They say it's a good movie, but it's not like top shelf MCU. That was the thoughts that they gave me. That it was good. Both of them enjoyed it. One enjoyed it a little bit less than the other. But like neither of them said, hey, don't expect this to be the next like Deadpool and Wolverine, or don't expect this to be, the next, an Infinity War or something like that. They both said it was good. So here's what I've done. I just ripped open a whole bunch of the reactions because they had the premiere tonight. They also did a couple of press screenings. As you guys know, I was not at the press screening. Almost 2 years ago now, I stopped going to any press events anywhere. I just weren't worth my time, but we've got a bunch of people talking about it now. Do they line up with what we've been hearing? Is it worse than we thought? Is it better than we thought? Is it right around where we thought it would be? So let's dive in here, shall we? And take a look and see what the reactions are. These are the reactions that are coming out as we speak. Okay, we'll get started with this one. This one comes from Scott, who writes, Captain America Brave New World is a game changer for Phase 5 of the MCU. Mackie soars past the role of Falcon, cementing himself as the new Captain America. Ford puts his signature grunting and crankiness into great use as Thaddeus Ross and Red Hulk. Brave New World is like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but bigger and better because of the scope and scale of this big screen adventure. All right, so that sounds good. That sounds good. All right, let's move on here. Try this one. This one comes from Nico Caruso, who writes, Captain America Brave New World is an incredible surprise. It rocks. The story is grounded, focused, and has genuine emotion. Stakes and / solid action. Mackie proves he's the guy. I doubt that. I mean, I love Anthony Mackie. I love Sam Wilson character, but Steve Rogers is Captain America is Steve Rogers is Captain America, but whatever. And Ford over-delivers. The spirit of Cap thrives in this film. Believe me when I say the MCU is back. Well, I kind of felt like the MCU is back with Deadpool and Wolverine, but that's good to hear. Another positive. All right, we keep going here. Next, somebody I know, Mike Ryan, writes, Captain America Brave New World seems to only exist to wrap up loose ends to the Incredible Hulk and Eternals. Oh yeah, because of Tiamat coming out of the ocean. And in doing so, the plot is about as convoluted and dull as that sounds. This should have been called Captain America Loose Ends. Oh no. Oh, that's not a good one. Now, we need to point out that the previous three have been good, but I like Mike. I kind of resonate with a lot of stuff. So it seems it's a bunch of loose ends to Incredible Hulk and Eternals. And in doing so, the plot is about as convoluted and as dull as that sounds. This should have been called Captain America Loose Ends. All right. Let's go to the next one. Will it be positive or negative? Sean writes, Captain America Brave New World is a thrill ride from start to finish. Anthony Mackie solidifies himself as Cap, delivering action, heart, and heroism like never before. Brave New World is gritty, intense, and packed with Top Gun-esque action. I gotta say, we haven't talked about that a lot. Actually, you know what? I'm guilty of not talking about it at all. One of the things I really do like about the trailers is the aerial stuff does look really good, at least in the trailers, the aerial stuff. And I don't think I've ever mentioned that, but I think the aerial stuff does look really good in the trailers. Anyway, let's see. Brave New World is gritty, intense, and packed with Top Gun-esque action, and Harrison Ford as President Ross, aka Red Hulk. Chef's kiss. All right. So there's another one that likes it. Let's see. We'll move on here to... how did Matt get this much written into a tweet? I'm not sure. Anyway, Matt writes, there are aspects of Captain America Brave New World that I genuinely enjoyed, such as Harrison Ford's performance as President Thaddeus Ross, the callbacks to the Incredible Hulk 2008 version, which is, of course, my film, including Tim Blake Nelson's return as the highly intellectual leader, and the action-packed third act. Others frustrated me, particularly its both sides political messaging, as well as the MCU's persistently uninspired visual style. And some elements left me conflicted, like the roles of Shira Haas and Giancarlo Esposito. Through it all, Anthony Mackie carries this flawed film on his shoulders quite admirably, even as he's burdened by reshoots and storytelling that makes this feel more suited for Disney Plus than the big screen. Not to mention the unfair expectations placed on him in a post-Steve Rogers MCU. The title may promise a brave new world, but so far, there's nothing particularly brave or new about it. All right, that sounds like one of those middle of the roads, like things I liked, things I didn't like. It's okay. That's kind of the sense I'm getting from there. It's okay. All right, let's try this next one up. This next one, wrong button, comes to us from Joey, who writes, Captain America Brave New World is a total wheel spinner, just clearing some loose ends. We've heard that phrase already before. I wonder if that's going to get mentioned a bunch. Clearing some loose ends from a few of the lesser Marvel efforts. Frankly, it should have been part of a season of television. It doesn't stack up as a film, and I'm usually an easy mark for the MCU. All right. It should have been part of a lesser television series. Let's go on. Next one. Jonathan Sim writes, Captain America Brave New World is a gripping political thriller offering enjoyable action and espionage with a phenomenal performance from Harrison Ford. However, the final act underwhelms. Like the Wolverine, it gets silly in an otherwise serious film. All right, so another one of those ones that sounds like it lines up with what my friends told me the other day about it, saying, it's good. It's all right. It's not great, but there you have it. It's funny, though, because we've heard from one or two of them already that the third act was really great, but this one is saying that the third act kind of is the short point of it. Interesting to hear. All right, next up. Andrew writes, is Marvel back with Captain America Brave New World? Well, it's like a nice comfort meal in that it's reminiscent of the Winter Soldier, maybe too reminiscent as it largely feels very familiar. Full review very soon. And again, that's kind of right in line. One of the people I did talk to earlier in the week did kind of make the comparison to Winter Soldier, but not in a good or a bad way, just saying it really feels like it. This is another one. This is kind of, hey, the movie's pretty okay. Just don't expect Civil War. Don't expect Winter Soldier. Don't expect Deadpool and Wolverine. It's pretty good. That seems to be what we're getting from it so far. All right. And which, by the way, for the record, I'll take pretty good. You give me a pretty good night at the movies, you're good. You're good with me. Not everything can be, Shang-Chi or Guardians of the Galaxy 3. All right. Next up. Rendy writes, Captain America Brave New World hoodwinks the audience into thinking it's a Sam Wilson movie when in reality, it's a sequel to The Incredible Hulk, again, my film, 2008, equipped with Bush-era styled militaristic propaganda to boot. It has the gall to play Kendrick's eye in the end. Hated this. Woo! There's our first one. It's like, this just straight up sucks. It's been funny because up until this point, we've been reading some things from people saying, it's okay. Here's some things I liked. Here's some things I didn't like, blah, blah, blah. This one is just straight up saying, hated this. Hated this. All right. Let's try a new one here. Rachel Reviews Movies writes, Captain America Brave New World, a serviceable Marvel entry, but it felt like it never really culminated in anything but a bunch of exposition. Mackie just doesn't have the charisma needed. Danny Ramirez steals the movie. Wish was in it more. Not much Red Hulk, which is something the lack of Red Hulk, I think, is something that most of us suspected would probably be the case for this movie. Like, I think a lot of us believed that Red Hulk was something probably, and I don't know if this is true or not. I'm just saying this is what we all kind of felt, that Red Hulk might be something that probably pops up in the third act of the film. One interesting thing, though, while still saying this is a serviceable Marvel movie, this was the first one that's just kind of pointing out Anthony Mackie, saying Anthony Mackie just doesn't have the charisma. Listen, you can have whatever feelings you have on any actor, and that includes Anthony Mackie. And I don't think Anthony Mackie is a perfect actor by any stretch of the imagination. But one of the criticisms, and again, I say this as somebody who hasn't seen the movie yet. I'm seeing the movie tomorrow. But as somebody who hasn't seen the movie yet, and as somebody who doesn't think, personally, I love Anthony Mackie. I don't think he's a perfect actor, but I would never, I might have a few nitpicks and criticisms with his performances sometimes, maybe. Overall, I think is great. I would never say one of those criticisms doesn't have the charisma needed. So, and again, I'm not saying Rachel Reviews Movies is wrong because I haven't seen the movie and she has. I'm just saying that's a surprising statement to me because one thing Anthony Mackie does not lack is charisma. Like, that's just something he doesn't lack. So I don't know, especially when a lot of the other ones, even the other reviews we've read so far that have said, hey, it's okay. The movie's pretty good. It's not great, blah, blah. They all seem to be saying Anthony himself, though, is really good. So that's interesting. That's interesting. We got a different point of view on that. All right, let's do a couple of more. Let's go over to here. Austin, who writes, Captain America Brave New World is a good movie. The ending is good. The post-credits scene is not very important. All right, and again, that's another one that just kind of, notice he's not saying Captain America Brave New World is an amazing movie. This one, again, kind of sounds in line with what I was told earlier this week. It's good. It's pretty good. It's a fairly good movie. One person thought it was a very solid, good movie. One said it's a pretty good movie. Neither of them super excited about it, but said it's a very serviceable, like the last one said, very serviceable MCU entry, which, you know what? I'll take because frankly, as somebody who's been very, I'm one of those guys, you guys know, that never believed as we were approaching Endgame and everything like that and coming out of Endgame, that neither Sebastian Stan's Bucky nor Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson, neither of them should be taking up Cap's mantle. I don't think in the MCU. Now I understand. But John, let's say the comic books. I understand for those of you who don't understand the difference between the comics and the movies. I understand that in the comic books. But in the MCU, it's never felt like a mantle that should be passed on. Steve Rogers is Captain America, is Steve Rogers, is Captain America, is Steve Rogers, is Captain America, right? Sort of thing. But, through all that, I felt in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they did a fairly good job. And I didn't love Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I did enjoy it. And I thought one of the things that series did was a pretty good job of kind of giving us that hero's path of Sam embracing the mantle of Captain America. And I actually thought they did a pretty good job with that. So I've been open-minded about this movie being good. Again, I don't think it was the right decision to have the mantle passed on. I loved Sam Wilson as Falcon. I like Sebastian Stan, Bucky as Winter Soldier. I didn't think either of them should have been given the mantle, but Falcon the Winter Soldier did set it up well. And so I've been kind of approaching and getting ready for Captain America 4 with an open mind, but still with fears that the movie could be a total disaster. From what we're hearing, even from most of the ones that didn't love the film, although there was the one guy that we already read who said he straight up hated it. And I'm sure there are going to be others who do too. For me, again, I will take pretty serviceable Marvel movie. I will take pretty good movie. I will take this is a decent film. I'll take that because quite frankly, I thought there was a potential for it to be an utter and complete disaster. And maybe I'll think it's a complete disaster when I see it. Who knows? We'll find out. All right. So we just read Austin's Captain America movie is a good movie. The ending is good. The post-credit scene is not very important. I unfortunately already knew what the post-credit scene was. So I know what the post-credit scene. I had somebody ask me a couple of days ago, Rob was here. I had somebody ask me a couple of days ago, do you want to know what the post-credit scene is? And in a moment of weakness, I said, yeah, just tell me. And they told me what it was. And I'm like, really? That's it? I mean, I get it. The post-credit scene of the movie does it doesn't even set up what's coming in the MCU. It just references it. That's all. It's not even a setup. Like a setup is something that you need to have this in order for this to happen. That's what a setup is. Oh, to get this, you need to get this first. But it's not. It's not a setup. It's not something, and I'm not going to say what it is here, but it's just something that happens, and it's like, oh, he's talking about this, but this scene wasn't needed at all. So, anyway. All right, let's keep going here. We'll just take a couple more, then I'll go over and start taking your guys' thoughts and questions if you have any. All right. Aaron writes, Captain America Brave New World is politically fueled and unafraid to take swings. Sam Wilson is now one of my favorite MCU characters, and this brings back the phase 2 to 3 action and adventure we love with modern repercussions. Great stuff all around. Okay, so this is one of the more, again, a lot of them have been saying it's pretty good. This seems to be one of the more strongly positive ones that they really, really enjoyed it. Good to hear. All right. Austin writes, remember how all of us were losing our collective shit on how goddamn good Captain America Winter Soldier was? Yeah. Captain America Brave New World keeps that same energy. This movie is so good that I want to see more adventures of Sam Wilson putting his hands on folks. And he follows that up with, it's a good Marvel movie with an atmosphere reminiscent of Captain America, the Winter Soldier, a gripping plot, and a Sam Wilson who asserts himself as a different Cap. The action is effective and the post-credit scene rather intriguing, but the film is, in my opinion, too rushed. Everything follows on without any real pause, which makes some events less credible. The visual effects are quite uneven, with some really average shots, and the music lacks identity. Despite everything, it remains a good film that I enjoyed, but it's obviously a hot opinion. I don't think that's a hot opinion. The film isn't, in my opinion, too rushed. Some questionable visual effects. I haven't heard that about the visual effects, but he's saying some questionable visual effects. Yeah, it's not a hot opinion. That seems to be it. It's a good film. That seems to be the general consensus. One or two saying they loved it, one or two saying they hated it, but the vast majority of them are in the middle, saying it's good. It's a good film. It's pretty good. It does this well. It does this part not so well. Overall, It's a good, that, how many times we read that statement several times. It's a good movie. It's a good film, right? Like, so, you know, again, for me, I'll take it. Now here's some of the things that I've been hoping for or expecting to see. One of the things that I really don't want them to have in this Captain America Brave New World, I really want them to be able to establish, and again, they did a pretty good job of this in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I want them to establish Sam as his own Captain America. His own. And what I do not want them to do at all, because frankly, I'll be pissed, is if they try to accomplish that by trashing on Steve's Captain America. Like, if your path to establishing Sam in his own identity as a good Captain America is to just piss on the legacy of Steve's Captain America, you will lose me as an audience member immediately. Frankly, I may walk out. Now, my all-time favorite comic book character is Magneto, but my all-time favorite MCU character is Cap. I mean, that's obvious. Is Cap. He's my all-time favorite MCU character. So if you go about this saying, hey, everybody, here's our new Captain America. Okay. This is what makes him unique. Okay. This is how he's so much better than that other Captain America. Fuck you. I'm out. If they do that. And by the way, I have no reason at all to believe that that's what they're doing. I have no reason to believe that that's what they're doing at all. Okay. So nobody has told me that this movie craps on the other Captain America. I don't believe they're going to do that at all. I'm just saying if they did, I, as an individual, will be quickly taking my buttered popcorn and excusing myself to walk out. And then I will pull out my considerable dick and piss all over the floors and say, that's what you get for pissing on the legacy of Steve Rogers. That's what I'll do. Anyway. Okay. Let's go over to your guys' live questions that you guys have been thoughts, opinions. What do you think about the reviews we've been reading? It sounds pretty consistent. Again, one or two that really loved it, one or two that really didn't like it, and then most everybody right there in the middle of, it's pretty good. Is that what you're expecting? Are you happy to hear that? Maybe you thought the reactions were going to be amazing. Maybe you thought they were going to be all crappy. Let's talk about it. And what are you looking for to hearing from this movie? What are you wanting to see in this movie and going? Again, I want to remind everybody, like I said at the top, I'm not going to address any super chats that come in that have anything to do with anything else. We are here tonight to talk about Captain America Brave New World. If you want to ask about something else, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just not going to address it tonight. All right, let's get over here and see what you guys are saying. Let's see. We're going to start off with Fangblaze. Fangblaze 71, who says, oh no, that Fangblaze, there it is. Fangblaze 71 writes, $5 says Taskmaster dies in the first 20 minutes of Thunderbolt. She's barely in the trailers. True, but again, Fangblaze, we're not here to talk about Thunderbolts. We're here to talk about Captain America Brave New World. But I will say, yes, I mean, I think that's what everybody thinks. Everybody thinks Taskmaster is going to die because you only see her in a very, very limited amount of stuff. All right. Again, Fangblaze asking about Taskmaster. Not here to talk about that, Fangblaze. Christopher Brickner writes, with General Ross, along with Liv Tyler and Tim Blake Nelson back as Betty Ross and the leader after 17 years, Cap 4 is like a sequel to 2008's Incredible Hulk. I mean, yes and no. I mean, there's an argument to be made that since the MCU is all one big shared cinematic universe, that every movie in it, to a degree, is a follow-up and sequel to any of the movies in the MCU, some more directly than others. But yes, when they particularly announced that the leader was going to be in it, that Tim Blake Nelson was going to come back and play the leader again, we all suspected, well, there must be other Hulk-like connections. Thunderbolt Ross, though, is not really one of those, because Thunderbolt Ross, while yes, he was in that Hulk movie, Thunderbolt Ross has been throughout the MCU, right? He's been a part of the MCU. He was in Civil War. He was Infinity War. He's been a part of he was in Black Widow. So, I mean, it's a little bit less than that. And then the Liv Tyler connection just kind of made sense because of General Ross being as she's his most human connection left. So that all kind of made sense to me. But it sounds like from some of the reactions we've been reading that, yeah, some people are saying it feels a little bit too much like a tying up of loose ends of the 2008 Hulk. So you might not be far off on that, Christopher. All right. Sienna the Destroyer writes, I don't mean for this to be political. I just wanted to know if you think Captain America movie box office would be impacted by today's environment. Somebody asked almost an identical, it might have been the same person. Somebody asked an almost 100% identical question to that on the John Campea Show a few days ago. I'll say now what I said then. Captain America has been, I think, impacted in international markets just by being called Captain America for all of the Captain America movies. There are even some international territories, like when the first Captain America movie came out, Captain America, the First Avenger, there are some territories that just changed the name of the movie. I think one or two territories just changed the movie to the First Avenger and stuff like that. So just having the name Captain America, I mean, that's great in America. Not so great everywhere else in the world, right or wrong, fair or unfair. So I think that's always been an issue. I don't think that's any more or less true today than it was then. I mean, it's still going to do strong, but is it impacted? Sure. But all of them have been. They all will be to some degree, not necessarily a huge degree. All right. Next up, Adam Felbel writes, hey, John, does this movie also tie in your character from The Incredible Hulk? What happened to him? Well, I am unable to say what happened to my character. As to whether or not, right near the end, as Harrison Ford's Thunderbolt Ross Red Hulk is about to kill Anthony Mackie, with the leader standing over him, that I cannot confirm or deny that maybe a heroic soldier emerges out of the shadows and stops Red Hulk from killing. I'm not going to say. I can't say. I've signed NDAs. I can't talk about it. All right. Thank you for that, Adam. Next up, Joseph Sanchez writes, I happen to have the day off work Thursday, so I'm going to go see the first showing at my local theater. From what I heard, I think I'll like it. And you know, that's really the thing to me, is that I'm starting to believe I'm going to like it. I don't know if I'm going to love it, and that's okay. I'm perfectly happy sitting down and having a good meal sometimes. I don't need every meal I sit down to be my Nunna's chicken parmesan or veal cutlets, right? Which are orgasm-inducing, mind-blowingly great. I don't need everyone to be that. Sometimes I just give me a good meal. And if that's what this ends up being, I'll be satisfied. I may not go see Captain America keep wanting saying Strange New World. I may not end up going to see Captain America Brave New World 7 times like I did with Kenneth Branagh's Thor movie, with the first one with Chris Hemsworth. I may not end up going to see it 7 times or anything like that. Maybe I see it once. But as long as I like it, and it's starting to sound like I'll like it, as long as I like it, I'll be happy. And I'll leave it at that. All right. Thanks for that, man. Next up, we've got a performing artist writes, hey, I wanted to tie up a lot of loose ends. Now other movies won't have that baggage. Solidify Mackie as Captain America and be a good movie. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I think that's a good sentiment. That tying up loose ends from previous movies is not necessarily a bad thing. Now, I'm also one of those people that doesn't believe tying up loose ends is a necessary thing. Like, I don't think you have to tie up all loose ends. That's not the way life works. Life doesn't work that way. So I don't necessarily need movies to be that way. Now, some loose ends are bigger than others, right? A giant celestial coming out of the ocean, that's a loose end that has to at least be addressed, right? That's got to at least be addressed. The fact that on some ship somewhere deep in the galaxy, Harry Styles' Star Fox showed up. Address it or don't address it. It's not really important, right? So addressing loose ends is not a bad thing, but it's not always a necessary thing. But yes, if this movie ties up some loose ends, establishes Anthony Mackie more as the new Captain America, a job they started on with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and deliver us a satisfying little movie, just a good movie, good time at the movies, then I'll be totally happy, performing artist. I'll be absolutely happy with those results. All right. Next up. Let's see. DeRhino writes, as long as you don't feel the same way you did about Craven in your out of the theater thoughts, I'll be happy. And you know what? I'll say this. I'm going to go way out on a limb here. I'm willing to bet cold, hard money right now that I will, I accidentally hit the thing that lowered my chair. I am willing to bet real money that I will like Captain America Brave New World more than I liked Craven. It is very difficult for me to imagine having that kind of visceral and active hatred of a movie that I had for Craven the Hunter coming out of that. I feel very confident that this will get a better reaction out of me, God, I hope so, than Craven the Hunter did. All right. Let's see. Next up, Patrick Stewart writes, as long as Captain America 4 is good or even decent, I will call it a win. I also seldom walk into a theater with lofty preconceived expectations. 5 inches of snow and a good Cap 4 equals a great week. Yeah, now look, do I want to love every movie I see? Absolutely. Every time I go to a movie, I want to love it. Even if it's movies that I don't think I'm going to like, I hope I love it. I am going to go into Captain America Brave New World hoping I love it. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I never thought that was going to happen. And from what I'm reading from now, from all these first reactions, it sounds like the most realistic scenario is that we're going to like it. And I agree with you. Not everything has to be The Godfather. If it is The Godfather, awesome. But it doesn't have to be The Godfather. When I go to the movies, I just want to have a good time. And if this movie can at least give me a good time and make me feel like they at least advance the story of Sam Wilson a little bit, we're good. We're good. Again, try to establish Sam Wilson just by crapping on or ripping up the legacy of Steve Rogers as Captain America, we're going to have problems. But if they just give me a good time, advance the story a little bit, have some decent action, do all that, I'll be happy. I'll walk happy. You know, you don't have to do too much more than that for me. So, yeah. All right. Let's keep going here. Where did I leave off? We had DeRhino. Then we go. All right. Next up. That Il Yankee writes, glad it sounds like I'll get something better than Quantumania for my birthday this Thursday night. Listen, it happens. You know what? Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, I think I was more disappointed with that movie than I even thought initially. Because you have to remember, while Ant-Man was never my absolute favorite MCU character like Steve Rogers was, I really like Ant-Man. I love the first one. Like, love the first Ant-Man movie. I very much liked the second one. It wasn't as good as the first, but I very much liked the second one. Just suffice to say, I really enjoy the Ant-Man movies. So when Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania came out, you know, I was very excited for it. You had Jonathan Majors as Kang was going to be in there and all this kind of stuff. So I was really stoked for it, and that movie was really disappointing. It wasn't Kraven the Hunter. It wasn't Madam Web. It wasn't Secret Invasion, but it was really quite disappointing. Had some upside. I'm not saying it didn't. It did have some upside, but the disappointments far outweighed this pleasant surprises, you know? And so I really hope, you know, my fear of Captain America Brave New World has been it being the next Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Like, I never believed it would be Kraven, but my fear was that it would be the next Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Something with some decent things in it, but overall very disappointing. It sounds like that's not the case. I hope that ends up, you know, continues to not be the case, but, you know, we'll have to wait and see. All right, next up. We got Rachel Knight Online who writes, all these Hulk connections and no goddamn Hulk. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people wondered if we would end up getting Bruce, if Bruce Banner would pop up at some point and see the Hulk. Now, I don't know if he does or not. None of the first reactors are saying whether he does or not. That's probably a good thing. If he is in it, it's probably meant as a surprise. But I've been saying I have my doubts he shows up, because how do you have Bruce show up and not intervene when there's a Red Hulk? But at that point, if you have Green Hulk versus Red Hulk, well, it's not a Captain America movie anymore, right? So yeah, a lot of Hulk references, but no Hulk. No Hulk in there. All right. Let's see. Next one up is Crazy Eyeballs writes, do you think the MCU is in a stage where people uninterested? Well, the last movie they put out made $1.3 billion at the box office and became the highest grossing R-rated film in all time. No, I do not think the MCU audience is at a place where they're not interested anymore. Anyway, as if they are like, oh, there's another one, like other franchises like Star Wars or Jurassic Park World. But the thing is, the last Star Wars movie did make $1 billion. The last Jurassic Park movie / Jurassic World movie did make $1 billion. Movies, listen to me very carefully here. Movies that people aren't interested in don't make $1 billion. Movies that people aren't interested in don't make $500 million. If a movie makes $800 million, people were interested in it. Maybe not you. Maybe not the person next to you. But if 750 million, 900 million, and certainly if $1 billion worth of moviegoers goes to see a movie, there is no universe that you can make an argument that people aren't interested in it. When people aren't, you know what people aren't interested in? Blue Beetle. By the way, I like that movie very much. I didn't love it, but I liked Blue Beetle very much. What did that movie make? $7? $12? See, that is a movie that people weren't interested in, right? That's a movie people weren't interested in. Which is, again, too bad, because Blue Beetle was pretty good. I liked it. But again, let's revisit. The last Marvel Cinematic Universe movie made $1.3 billion. It is what it is. The last Star Wars movie made $1 billion. The last Jurassic World movie made $1 billion. There are problems all of these franchises have, but people not interested in them is not one of those problems. Many other problems. We can set the table with all the other problems. But the particular problem of people not interested is clearly not one of those problems. That's not one of the problems. All right. Let's keep going here. Next up, we've got Steezy Oxy, who just sends in $1 to be supportive. Thank you, Steezy. Appreciate that. That's very kind of you, man. All right. Let's see. Shadow Cyborg writes, as much as I love Red Hulk as a character in the comics, I just feel like how Hulk has been betrayed has been betrayed in the MCU. Red Hulk is just going to be a disappointment and fall flat to deliver. It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like one of the consistent things throughout most of the reactions has been Harrison Ford, Red Hulk are good. So good. But I agree with you how, look, I've been saying for a couple of years now, ever since Endgame, that they really dropped the ball on Hulk. Hulk is somebody that they dropped the ball on. You went from the first Avengers movie, where Hulk is basically like the ultimate nuclear option, to which even Iron Man says to a god of Asgard, we have a Hulk. Like that's it. That's the end of the discussion. That is the game changer. That puts a fork in it. We have a Hulk. And then after Avengers, the first one, slowly but surely, bit by bit, they started to nerf Hulk to the agonizing, unbearable conclusion that he's literally Hawaiian shirt wearing, family barbecue, idiot looking son Hulk showing up at the family barbecue. I really don't like, and remember, I'm somebody who overall loves the MCU. I love, there's certainly parts that I don't like, but overall I love the MCU. I the stories of Tony Stark was fantastically done. The stories of Steve Rogers, fantastically done. The stories of Scarlet Witch, maybe the best individual character storyline I think done in the MCU. They've done Star-Lord's story has been amazing. Rocket's story is amazing. They have done such a good job with so many characters. And then they did Hulk dirty. So, hey, listen, it's like 45 wins to 1 loss. I get it, talking about how well they've handled their characters. But it sounds like they do Red Hulk pretty well, but there is no denying they really have ruined Hulk. And not ruined to the point that they can't come back from it. I hope they do come back from it, and I hope they do something great with him. But yeah, I mean, they've nerfed Hulk. There's no way around that. All right. Podjedurka writes, seeing in 30 in Australia, hard to get excited when Rotten Tomatoes score is not out. Yeah, because they had the official premiere tonight. So they lifted the social media embargo, but they give everybody a number of hours before dropping live reviews. So the reviews are tomorrow. But yes, hard to get excited when the RT score is not out. Is Marvel confident at all in this project? I mean, I will say dropping the social media embargo, like officially the movie opens Friday. Today is Tuesday. Which really means the movie opens on Thursday. Today is Tuesday. It's not great, but that's not bad. Where I get really worried is when, like, what was the movie recently, guys, where they literally didn't drop the review embargo until like 6 hours after the movie officially opened. I remember we just talked about this like 2 or 3 months ago. There was a movie that literally didn't lift the review embargo until after. Was it The Crow? I think it might have been The Crow, where they didn't lift the review embargo until after the movie came out. See, that's a thing. 2 days before the movie comes out, that's not so bad. But I have never had the feeling, and listen, this is just me giving my gut feeling, okay? Just what I sense. I could be way off on this. I could be totally wrong. I'm just saying, as a movie fan, I have never got the sense from Disney or Marvel that they've been particularly ecstatic about this movie. Like, you could tell they were way excited for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. You could tell they were super stoked for that. You could tell that they were incredibly enthusiastic and excited for Deadpool and Wolverine. I have never gotten the sense from Marvel that this is one that they are particularly super excited to get out there into the audience. Quite frankly, I'm feeling a lot more excitement from Disney about Thunderbolts. I'm feeling a lot more excitement about Disney for Fantastic Four. It's almost like, I'm not saying it was a mistake, but did anybody else find it kind of odd that at Super Bowl, right before Captain America's about to open, they spent their marketing money on advertising Thunderbolts? Now, Captain America 4 was only coming out, less than a week after the Super Bowl. And all that kind of stuff. And yes, there's definitely an argument, but am I the only one, guys, that it felt a little bit weird? And by the way, I'm glad they did, because that Thunderbolt trailer thumped. I love that trailer. But did anybody else, am I alone? Did anybody else feel like it was a kind of a bit weird? Kind of a bit weird that they're advertising Thunderbolts, a movie that doesn't come out till May, when you got this Captain America movie getting ready to come out. Again, I have nothing to back this up with. This is just me expressing my theory as a fan. But I never got the sense, Padakura, that Disney was particularly excited about Captain America 4 or had a hell of a lot of belief or faith in it, to be honest with you. All right. Let's see here. Next up, Jake writes, have you had the chance to watch the recent leaked James Bond? Again, guys, I've said it multiple times during this stream. We are not taking any questions regarding anything else other than Captain America, Brave New World, the reactions to it, and all that kind of stuff. That is what we are here to discuss right now. All right. Again, thank you for taking time to write it in, but I was very clear about that a number of times, that we're only taking questions about Captain America, Brave New World. All right. Let's go on to the next one here. Next one we've got is from Alex Von Gollum, who writes, at this point, I'm like Jon Snow. I know nothing. I feel Valentina will appear in the movie to connect it with the Thunderbolts. She's been connective tissue for the non-mystical part of the multiverse saga. Maybe, you know what? I remember, I think it was Chris and I had a longer discussion a while ago about Valentina, and about the fact, that's Elaine, by the way, and about the fact that we both kind of felt that post Thunderbolts, we both kind of felt like she's going to have, and by the way, just so everybody knows, I'm turning off the super chats now, because I only wanted to do tonight's stream for about an hour. It looks like we're going to go a little over an hour. That's fine, but just so you know, I've turned off the super chats. So we both kind of felt like Valentina would be a presence longer than just Thunderbolts. Because remember, she popped up in Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. And we've got Wong kind of connecting the galactic, the mystical, like the real far out stuff. Maybe Valentina becomes more of a street level. Speaking of street, maybe Valentina shows up in Daredevil Born Again. I mean, I doubt it, but I mean, it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world. So maybe she becomes also kind of more of a practical, connective tissue for the rest of the universe. Gandalf the Wolf writes, where are you in the Incredible Hulk? Several people have found me in there. But you know what? I'm in 3 scenes. I've only seen people correctly find me in 2. There are people out there who have found me identified it perfectly, but only for two of them. I've never seen somebody find me, and granted, the third one I'm in, it's tough. It's really tough to pick me out, but I've never had anybody pick me out in the third one. All right. Next up. Let's see. Sam Champion writes, I'm checking it out Thursday, and as long as it's good, I'm cool with it. Again, I think that needs to be our attitude as filmmakers or as film fans, right? I hope it's great, but hey, if it's just good, wonderful. Wonderful. If it's good, fantastic. And I'm with you on that, Sam. I think if I walk out of that theater and go, yeah, I'm glad I like that. I'm glad I enjoyed that. Then I'll be perfectly good with it. All right. Zay Gaming writes, hey, John, quick question. What's more likely to happen in the film? The mention of mutants or a World War Hulk storyline? Well, I'd have to say that's an easy one. The more likely, not that either will, but the more likely is mention of mutants. There's no chance in the world that there's going to be a World War Hulk storyline mentioned, set up, or anything in this movie. Like, we are so far removed from a potential World War Hulk movie. Like, maybe, if the Russo brothers stick around after Doomsday and Secret Wars, if they want to plan for 4 years after that to set up a World War Hulk kind of thing, and then they took 5 years to kind of start to build the engines up to that, maybe, but they're not going to plant the seeds for that in a Captain America Brave New World movie. So I'd say that the chances of that are absolute zero. Mentions of mutants, that's easy. That can be something just like, Harrison Ford is the president talking to a couple of guys about the potential problems. I mean, my God, you guys. First we had the problems with the Iranians, and then this mutant thing, and now this, right? I mean, it can be something as simple as that. So I would say, not that it necessarily will happen, but I would say it's by far a higher chance that we get mentions of mutants than any kind of setup for a World War. I mean, why would a World War Hulk thing get set up here? It doesn't really seem to make sense. All right. Next up, Sam Champion writes, sounds more like it's a patch job on a film that they're using as a bridge film to this new phase, but I'm hoping for the best, ready to check it out. I'll be honest with you, Sam, I haven't seen anything in trailers or previews, and I haven't heard anything from the people I talked to or any of the reactions that we've read that this is a bridge film to set up what's coming next. I don't feel like anything out of the 30 plus whatever reviews we read and reactions we read, or the people that I've talked to, or the trailers or previews we've seen, I don't get a sense at all from anything that this movie is remotely just a bridge to set up something that comes next. I think the other thing you said is more on the money, that they're part of the function of this movie is to patch up and tie up loose ends from other films. That does seem to be something that they're doing with this movie. We have seen that in a number of the reactions, but I don't think, Sam, I think we're safe from that other one though, Sam. I think we're going to be safe from them just using this film as a bridge to what comes next. All right. Next up, Umang writes, I think the low expectations for the movie can make it more enjoyable. I mean, that's true of any movie, right? Like, if we go into a movie 100% convincing ourselves that this movie is going to be one of the top 5 movies ever made in history, we are more than likely to walk out disappointed. But if we go into any movie just with, hey, I just hope it's pretty good, well, then if the movie ends up being pretty good, then we walk out satisfied. So I don't think I think it is true of Captain America Brave New World, but I think it's also true of any movie, right? Like if we go in, because that's one of the things I was worried about Deadpool and Wolverine, right? By the time Deadpool and Wolverine actually got here, guys, my expectations, I tried my hardest for months to keep my expectations in check, but dudes, By the time that movie arrived, my expectations were so through the roof. I thought I was just going to be set up to be disappointed. Thankfully, the movie was that damn good. But we have all fallen victim to that, right? We've all fallen victim to going into a movie with far too high expectations. And even though the movie ends up pretty good, we walk out going, nah, wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be. Well, that's your problem. And that's my problem. I mean, maybe, so yes, it is true, Umang, what you're saying about lower expectations can make the movie more enjoyable. I think that's true here. And I think that's true of every movie. I think that's true of every movie we go to see. Let's see. Rachel Knight Online writes, Bruce isn't in it because he's too busy being at a family barbecue with his and his son, and his son's goofy ass Morty from Rick and Morty looking haircut. Yeah, you know the funny thing about that is? The funny thing about that is I really liked the way She-Hulk started. I mean, She-Hulk ended up being a really disappointing show, but I still maintain that it started pretty good. That first episode with Bruce taking on the responsibility of trying to train his cousin, the start of that, I thought was quite good. I enjoyed that, but then it just got more and more goofy. And again, by the time it ended, I remember we are ending this with Hawaiian shirt wearing family barbecue attending Hulk. The guy who was, we have a Hulk, is now family barbecue Hulk. It really bothered me. All right. Let's see. Next up, DJ Corncob writes, with the new Captain America not having abilities, for now, does it feel like a dulled down version of the MCU compared to the galactic scale of it all? No. Because listen, great movies and great stories are great movies and great stories. They don't have to be galactic level. Not every movie has to be about, if the hero doesn't succeed, it's the end of the world. Not every, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has actually been a little bit guilty of that, where it feels like movie after movie, the fate of the world is in the balance. The fate of the universe is in the balance. Sometimes it's just good of somebody trying to save the neighborhood. Sometimes it's good just to have somebody trying to save the girl. Sometimes it's good of somebody just trying to save his family. That's one of the great things about the first Ant-Man movie. It's just about a guy trying to save his family, right? I don't feel, because if you're worried about Sam not having powers making the movie feel dulled down, well, then what's Batman? Right? Like, what's Batman? Now, Batman's Batman. Captain America has always been a character that has the super soldier serum and is, well, Captain America. And, we talked about this on the John Campea Show the other day, and one of our viewers brought up a really good point to me. They said making sure Sam doesn't get the super soldier serum is another strong way to differentiate him from Steve Rogers. And you know what? I had to go, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. Now, how is this movie going to convince me that Sam Wilson, wearing essentially another Iron Man suit with wings, can go toe-to-toe and fight a Hulk without so much as the super soldier serum? I'm not sure how they're going to do that, but I'll let the movie speak for itself. I'll go watch the movie and let it speak for itself. And so we'll see how they go. So again, I have my concerns, DJ Corncob, I do. But one of my concerns is not this character doesn't have this superpower. Is that going to make the movie feel dull? No. Because listen, if you can't write a compelling story with an interesting character who doesn't have superpowers, then you can't write a compelling story with an interesting character with superpowers. You can either write a compelling story with interesting characters or you can't. So how good or bad the movie is doesn't depend on whether or not Sam can shoot lasers out of his eyes. It doesn't depend on whether or not Sam can lift a car over his head. It depends on if you can tell us an interesting story, bring us along the path with them, and then give us a really good character to cheer for along the way. If you can do those things, then whether that character is one with powers or without, it'll work. And if you can't do those things, it doesn't matter if it's with a character that does or does not have powers, it won't work, right? So I think it'll be interesting. I've been brought around to buying into the idea that it'll be a nice way to differentiate Sam's cap from Steve's cap. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it works out. Hopefully I like it. All right. Ryan Holman writes, excited for the movie, kind of wish they didn't stream the red carpet like usual. I didn't know they were streaming the red carpet. I didn't watch the stream of the red carpet. Actually, frankly, my wife and I were out for the evening tonight. I have no problem with the streaming for the only time I remember this, it was for X-Men Days of Future Past. I remember, see that, do you guys remember what happened with the red carpet live stream of X-Men Days of Future Past? They caught James Marsden and Famke Janssen on the red carpet posing with the cast. And it's like, oh, well, I guess Cyclops and Jean Grey pop up in this movie at some point. And sure enough, they did. Ryan saying, no, I'm saying they did not stream it. Oh, okay. I see okay. Okay. Ryan is saying, I thought you said kind of, I thought you said, you know what? I misread it. I thought you wrote kind of wish they didn't stream the red carpet like usual. You said it's kind of weird they didn't stream the red carpet like usual. Oh, that makes far more sense. Okay, because I was going to say, I didn't know that they streamed the red carpet. Okay. Yeah, that is weird that they didn't stream the red carpet. But again, remember we were just talking about this. I just have never gotten the sense. I've certainly never gotten the sense that Disney or Marvel are ashamed of this movie. Not at all. Never gotten that sense at all. But I've also never gotten the sense that they've been particularly super jazzed about it. And maybe not streaming the red carpet is just another kind of sign of that they just kind of look, let's get this movie out. We think we made a good movie. It's fine. It's a good little movie. We think a bunch of people will enjoy it, but let's just get it out there and move on. Look, Super Bowl was just here, and instead of playing a Captain America spot, they played a Thunderbolt spot. They've been really hyping up Fantastic Four, and I just have not felt that same enthusiasm for Captain America Brave New World. And from the sounds of the reactions, which is, it's a good movie. It's a good movie. Great. But from the sounds of the reactions, maybe that kind of explains why. We'll see. All right. Last question that got to slip in there before I turned off the super chats. Me writes, hey, John, how do you feel about Marvel releasing trailers when movies are coming out a week or days after those trailers? I personally don't like it. Like, how do I feel about them releasing trailers for the movies that are coming out a week or a few days after those? Like you're talking about the same movie. We're not talking about a situation where they dropped a Thunderbolts trailer and then the Captain America movie came out. Like, you're talking about for the same movie? That's common sense. That's common sense. Remember, trailers are marketing. They're marketing. The job of marketing is to get people, make them aware of the films, and then motivate and excite them to come to the movie theaters to go see it. Why would you not do that? Why would you not do that? Now, if you're so no, I feel perfectly good about that. If you're doing your job, yes. Now, I also don't mind. Now, remember, Thunderbolts is not a lifetime away. What are we now in February? March, April, May. Thunderbolts is in 3 months. It's in 3 months. And Thunderbolts, so it's coming out soon. And Thunderbolts does not have the name recognition that Fantastic Four does. Thunderbolts does not have the name recognition that Captain America does. You got to market this movie, much like the hardcore way they marketed Guardians of the Galaxy, because when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, ain't nobody knew who they were. Like, if you remember back then, they went hard on the marketing campaign for Guardians of the Galaxy. See, I have no issue that they took advantage of Super Bowl to market Thunderbolts. Again, that movie's only 3 months away, which is a perfect period of time to launch a trailer. At Super Bowl, you've got to work harder on marketing Thunderbolts than you do for Fantastic Four or Captain America, because they simply don't have the name recognition. So I have no problem with that. What I found interesting, though, was that they weren't marketing Captain America at the Super Bowl as well. And they weren't doing active Captain America marketing around that. Like, yeah, you needed to put out a trailer. This was a good opportunity. You still got to fight for Thunderbolts. You got to market Thunderbolts. That was a good opportunity to market Thunderbolts, and the perfect window of time. 3 months before the movie comes out. Chef's kiss, that's the perfect window. But it did feel weird to me that they had that and no mention or marketing around the biggest game of the year for Captain America, which was coming out a week later. So yeah, that feels weird. But the weird part wasn't the marketing for Thunderbolts. The weird part was the marketing for Thunderbolts without any subsequent marketing for Captain America. To me, that was the weird part. So that's how I kind of felt about that. All right, tell you what. I'm going to take a few minutes more here. That I had already turned off the super chat, so that's done. But I'm going to take a few minutes more and just take some thoughts from the live chat here. So if you are in the live chat right now and have a question for me, do me a favor. Format it like this, the way I just put it in, with all capital letters, question, colon, then put in your question. That way I know you're asking me a question. You're not just making a comment or talking to other people in the chat. And by the way, I am not going to read them all. I'm just going to handpick a couple of ones to address, and then we're going to call it an evening. Let's see. Where are we at here? Right, we'll start off with Q, who writes, for a year or two, you've been saying we will see Iger's effect on Disney projects in a couple of years. Do you feel like we are seeing it this year with Marvel? Because I certainly do. Yes. We already know the impact that Bob Iger had on Deadpool and Wolverine, right? That's been well documented. And Captain America, the biggest impact with Captain America 4 is that before Bob Iger came back, like Kevin Feige had no real ability to say this isn't working, and now he did. So I want us to remember that when we go to see Captain America 4, from what we understand, however good or bad you think Captain America 4 is, whether you think it's good, not so good, whatever, I want us to remember the movie would have been much worse because Kevin Feige decided they had to go in and change it up. Anyway, James DP writes, do you think we will get a Logan tease in Captain America 4? Absolutely not. That would be there's no reason, there's no logic to that whatsoever. Wouldn't make any sense for them to do that. Let's see. Destin writes, when do you think we'll learn more about the MCU movies in 2026 and 2027 besides the Avengers? Oh, I have no idea. Dude, we're just at the beginning of 2025 right now, so I really don't know. It's not something that I think about either, or that I think is an important question right now. We got so much stuff on our plate right now coming as movie fans that we can worry about this stuff later. Let's see here. Question: is it concerning that we haven't seen any actual footage of the Lilo and Stick, you probably meant Stitch, live action remake besides the Stitch teasers? Well, hold a second. Lilo and Stitch release date. If I'm not mistaken, so it's coming out, it's almost 4 months away. Well, it's like 3.5 months away. No, I don't think it's concerning. Like, to me, I've always said 3 months. Well, 3 to 5 months is a really good spot, but ideally 3 months is when you really start going hard with your marketing. I'm guessing probably sometime in the next, I'm going to say sometime within the next 3 weeks, we're going to get our first legitimate trailer of Lilo and Stitch. I think that's probably when we're going to get our first legitimate look at that movie. So as of right now, is it concerning? No, not at all. If we get, ask me again in a month, if we get like 2 months away from the movie coming out and we still haven't seen any footage from the movie, then I'll be a little bit concerned. But as of right now, no, I don't think it's a concern at all. Let's see. Billy B writes, question: how important is it for this film to do well so audience accepts Sam as the leader in the next Avengers film? Sam should absolutely not be the leader of the Avengers. He absolutely should not be the leader of the Avengers. It would make no sense for Sam Wilson, a guy who's been a sidekick up until this point, is suddenly the leader of the Avengers. Rhodey outranks Sam. Rhodey, both in the military, outranks Sam as a long-term member of the superhero society and as a long-term member of the Avengers. Rhodey far outranks Sam and far has more leadership experience. And not that I'm saying Rhodey should necessarily be the leader either, but just because, like, in my opinion, just because you're wearing you're carrying around the nickname Captain America, that doesn't make you the leader. And I think it would be absolutely ridiculous for Marvel to make Sam, the guy who has been the lowest ranking member of the Avengers, to suddenly be the leader of the Avengers. That to me makes no sense. That makes no sense to me at all. So I don't think it's important that the movie do that. I think it's important that the movie doesn't do that. I just think it's important that the movie be good and just really let Sam take over the role. And if they can do that, then I think everybody will be happy. Anyway, let's see here. Why do you think Warner Brothers did not release Dune 2 during Oscar season? Because it was supposed to come out last Oscar season, but then all of the strikes forced them to postpone it, but they had already done a lot of the marketing and spent a lot of money on marketing, and they didn't want to delay the movie a full year to the next Oscar season, so it was more important them to get the movie out when they did. Anyway, all right, guys, and that'll do it for tonight's special stream of Captain America: Brave New World Reaction Watch. It sounds like it's going to come in right around where I was expecting. And from what both Rob and I had heard about it, that it's a good movie. Apparently it's not going to be great. A couple of the reactors thought it was great. It's not going to be bad. One or two of the reactors thought it was quite bad. The vast majority of them seem to say it's a good movie. Some strengths and weaknesses, overall pretty good. So you know what? If that's how I feel coming out, I'll be happy. Maybe I'll love it. Maybe I'll hate it. Maybe it'll be my next Kraven the Hunter. Maybe it'll be my next Civil War. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But hopefully we all have a good time when we see it. You know, we're going to go more in depth on these tomorrow on the John Campea Show. I'm going to have Robin here with me again. Chris is going to be here. Hopefully you guys will be here to join us. I think maybe the review embargo drops as well. So we'll talk about the full reviews. We're going to get our first look at the Rotten Tomatoes score of it tomorrow as well. So a whole bunch of stuff to go over tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for joining me here tonight. I'm really glad and honored that you did. Hopefully you guys will come back and join us again tomorrow. So that'll do it for me for now, guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.